Once you get your ball set up and you've got all of your ribs in place, then you're going to notice high and low spots. And so your best thing to do is to just sand all these high spots down, and the low spots you have to fill them, like this right here. This was extremely low, so I just bridged it up with some pieces of cardstock so that it all becomes more uniform in your roundness, so to speak. And you keep working it down and working it down and working it down until it's in a good uniform elevation, I should say, all the way around all your pieces. And if anything breaks loose, like this one, you just go ahead when you're done and you just glue it back into place, because it's paper, easy to fix. Alright, now once you have got all of this basically rounded out to where it's in good shape, then you start running 1/8 inch strips of paper over all of this direction, and once you're done that way, then you start running 1/4 inch strips back and forth this way, and you just basically cover this whole thing with paper. Once you've done that, you do that like 3 times. Once you've got 3 layers of paper on here, what you end up with is you end up something like this. And then at this point in time, you start sanding those 3 layers of paper down. And what it does is, if you use the 2 different colors, you use, say, brown at first, white, and then brown again, or other way around, it doesn't matter. What happens is the high spots, now I happen to use brown first, and then I went over top of it with white paper twice. And then some of the low spots I added some more brown paper too. What you come up with is this. So then, when you start sanding it down, all the high spots show. All the low spots show, because the low spots, of course, don't sand off, and the high spots do. And you just keep working this down. Once you get this to where it's in a decent shape, like these are my 3rd layers right here. You take those all off, and you still, then the high spots and the low spots start showing up better. And what you do is you just keep adding little bits of paper to all of this, and eventually what you end up with is you end up with almost a perfect ball that your TIE fighter cockpit becomes. This piece in there, and I just used a toilet paper tube with a backing, and what it is this is what it looks like. And what it comes out to be is what you end up having is this. This goes in to here. Now it won't right now because I've got high spots in here that I have to take down. And so what I do is I just sand that down, and then that'll go right in there just like that. And you have this. And that's your next step that you have to do to make your TIE fighter cockpits. Well, as you saw from the last shot, I needed to start putting strips on here. So what you do is you just put these 1/8 inch strips over everything, and then once you get them on there, then you start adding more. As it turns out, this was really low here, so I added some cardstock and some more paper to here. But this is what you've got. You keep covering this until you get this all the way around, and once you've got that all covered, then you take your 1/4 inch strips of white paper and you start putting them on top of this like so. That will give you 2 layers, and then you can actually start sanding it down with 2 layers rather than 3, because 2 layers are good as well. So this is kind of how this stuff goes on here. I'll show you this part because it's really easy, and then we'll get a step beyond that. So you just put a piece up here like so. You wrap it around like that. You bend it with your fingernail, which gives you a really good mark to cut it with your scissors. And then you just glue the thing on. And what it does is it gives you your second layer of paper, which also adds strength to your base form. And you just pull it down into place where you want it, like so. And you make sure it attaches well. And then you take your next piece and you put it on. I just drop it down a little bit like so. Come down here, get my bend point where I know that I can get an accurate distance on it. Okay, once you've covered all of this and covered all of this, it needs to dry for at least an hour or two before you start sanding it down. If you don't let it dry, what happens is as you start sanding it, the paper just rolls off, and then you kind of defeat the purpose of trying to find high and low spots. Once you've done this all the way around, as you saw earlier, the one that I had made, you end up with something like this. This is where you are. You've sanded this all down. Now I take and make 1-inch squares at this point. And these 1-inch squares, because paper will not conform to a round surface, it's made flat. And so I cut little triangles out of it, just like so. And this is just you know, a bag from, you know, Target or grocery store. They work really good. Then you just start covering your parts. Hold it right in the center to get it to lock down. And then start putting your pieces down. And what happens is your overlap, because it won't fit a ball. Stuff's not made to go around a corner. Well, I should say it's not made to go around a ball, because it will go around a corner fine. You're going to run into pieces like this. Alright, now to make that radius, I just put it in place and then I just kind of go around it like this with my thumb. It gives you your angle, and then you just cut it out with your scissors and you're pretty much set to go. There. And once you've done that, these little spots don't matter much, because once you sand everything down, that may be a low spot. You may need to add to it. But you don't worry about it. Those little ones just don't matter. You let that dry for an hour, and then you start sanding it down. And that'll be on the next video. We'll show you what's going on. Thank you for watching.